I was hoping to really get some good information on what the president is going to do with regard to pardoning the J6ers. And we'll talk about that when we get to that part this later on in our program this evening. But I thought we'd go ahead and get this in because what he's involved in is very much into the J6 pardon project. So I thought this would be a good thing for us to go ahead and play for us this evening. So let's go with that right now then, Cam.
Sounds good.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, host COS Today. Folks, we've got a really special guest with us today. As you know, we have been pursuing the January 6th situation, and of course, leading up to the president-elect taking office here in just a few days. One of his day one promises was to pardon the January 6th defendants. So we've been following that, and as you know, we've been interviewing some January 6th current as well as past prisoners. And so we've got a guest with us today. You've also heard me mention, I'm sure, that I've been very, very impressed with the network that has formed around and in support of these January 6th defendants. It's just amazing to me the breadth of the network that has formed out there. So, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing. So I want to bring on a guest here that has been involved in this network and is currently involved, and of course is very supportive of the president pardoning. And as he says, he wants no man left behind. So he wants everyone to be pardoned. So I want to bring on my guest here is Mr. Daniel Goodwin. So let's bring Daniel on.
Thanks,
Hi, Daniel. Hi.
How's it going?
Good, good. Thank you for joining in today with us. I didn't ask you, Daniel. Are you located in California? Did you tell me?
That's right.
Okay, you're not in any. Are you in the fires?
No. I'm in San Francisco. So
Oh, are you? Okay. All right.
hopefully stays that way.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. Now, Daniel, I've interviewed a lot of people involved in the January 6th situation. Prisoners, both past and current. So I wanted to now, Daniel, am I correct? You're originally from Texas, am I right?
I guess it depends on how you define that. I grew up in Texas.
You did? Okay.
I was technically born in Bad Cannstatt, Stuttgart, Germany when my dad was in the U.S. Army.
Oh,
I can't remember that. That was too far back.
okay. All right. Well, one of the organizations in this network of organizations supporting January 6th defendants is called the Patriot Mail Project. And Daniel's mother, Marie Goodwin, was very, very much involved in that, is very much involved in that project. And I had her on as a guest along with the co-founder, Paula Calloway, back in August, and interviewed them. And Marie briefly told us about your situation, told us about her son, Daniel, and what happened to you. So there's a connection there. And the Patriot Mail Project has, I've had other prisoners note how important that was to them, that the letters that they received from various supporters and people supporting their situation. And what was your role in the Patriot Mail Project, Daniel?
Well, I'm one of those who was a recipient, so
Oh, okay.
I'm a big appreciator also of Patriot Mail Project.
All right.
I was only in prison for a 2 months prison sentence, but I definitely now can relate to those who really receiving a lot of letters in there.
Well, then tell us your story, if you could, if you would, please tell us your story of what happened to you on January 6th and so forth.
Sure. So I went there to peacefully and patriotically make my voice heard, and meandered in through an open door next to some police that were not stopping anyone. Left the building within between 30 and 40 seconds after being told to leave, and was raided by an FBI counterterrorism task force SWAT team that very month. And that was 4 misdemeanor counts. And they added a 5th charge while I was in there, which is the 1512 felony obstruction of an official proceeding charge that carries a 20-year max. And I eventually did a plea agreement that helped me to get that dropped, and then 2 months prison sentence, what I ended up with.
That 1512 charge, I've heard other prisoners, other people make reference to that. That was apparently a popular charge that used, right?
A completely bogus charge that no one is guilty of, obviously, but the Supreme Court finally overruled that. So I should say ruled in our favor on that. So none of our J6ers should have to worry about that one anymore. But even Trump was charged with it.
Well, that carried quite a penalty. Am I right?
Yeah, 20-year max.
Yeah. Wow.
There are people who that was their only felony, such as me, that had been in prison until that got overturned, and then they got out. There's still actually, I think, some people in there who, for whatever paperwork reasons, still haven't gotten out yet, though.
Okay. So you were found guilty of what, some misdemeanors, or how did that come down?
Right. Yeah, just with the plea agreement, just one of the misdemeanors was left.
Okay. So what were you sentenced? What was your sentence?
Besides the 2 months prison, there was a year of supervision and like $3,000.
Really?
During the supervision, they also had a computer monitoring restriction because the judge didn't like that I was on a 5-minute segment on Tucker Carlson, and he considered that to be misinformation, disinformation.
Is that right? Okay. So you were in prison for, what did you say, about 2 months?
Yeah, well, it was a 2 months prison sentence. I had 3 weeks in jail in pre-trial, which was solitary confinement the whole time because they considered it COVID quarantine lockdown. So I got those 3 weeks time served, and then I had to serve the rest of the 2 months in a federal low security prison. Those were both in Texas.
Where was that located?
So the jail was in Fannin County, and then the prison was in Bastrop. Those are both in Texas.
Okay, that prison. I think that is. Are you familiar with Mark and Jaleese Middleton?
Of course, yes.
Yes. Okay. I think that's where Mark is now.
Oh, okay.
That's a male for male prisoners, right? Low security. Yes. Yeah. I believe we've interviewed them and followed their situation. They are both in prison now.
Well, they're real American patriots. I mean, of all the J6ers, I would say they're exemplary. I mean, they started an organization just to help other J6ers, raised all this money, used none of it for themselves, and now they're serving the sentence because they got convicted, even though really what happened that day was they were praying. They didn't even cross the police fence. They were facing the other direction. The police came and attacked them. So as far as I'm concerned, those police are the ones who should be serving time.
Yes. I can't believe on some of these stories that I'm told, it's just hard to comprehend all that how they've been treated, and it's just hard to comprehend.
It's terrible. I mean, they're basically elderly, and they have been together since they were like kids. Right. They, are like high school sweetheart types, and they never been apart this long, and now they're separated in prison.
Yeah.
They have, the male and female facilities. Even if you're married, that's terrible.
Well, one of it, I don't want to dwell too long on their situation, but when I interviewed them, their sentencing, of course, had been put off month after month after month, and they were finally sentenced on, I think it was the 22nd of October, and the sentences were, I think Mark got like 30 months, Jaleese got 24 months, something like that. But the sentences weren't to take effect until January 21st, which I thought was a very interesting date. But then all of a sudden, and I've yet to find out why this happened, but all of a sudden, their sentences, the effective date got moved up to something in December, like December 17th. And I don't know why that happened. Do you have any idea why that would have happened?
Who knows? These people are vindictive, satanic pedophile cabal, so I can never pretend to understand their reasoning.
So it could be possible they just moved it up because they could, I guess, huh? Is that that's the best reason I have? Well, anyway, bottom line is they are in there, and obviously looking forward to President Trump taking office and issuing the pardons. So,
well, we sure hope Trump will pardon them, but we've got this. Try to refrain from using any nicknames for him. I'll just say Vice President to be out here saying things like, well, obviously those who are violent don't deserve to be pardoned. Okay, obviously, yeah. Okay, and by whose definition? Because Mark and Jaleese would be considered violent if you're going by the definition of these left-wing deep state prosecutors and judges.
Well, that's true. You're correct. I've heard that said, and it's going to be interesting as to how they differentiate between violent and nonviolent.
Well, they better not differentiate anything. If anyone was violent that day, who cares? Did they get a fair trial? No, they didn't get a fair trial. And by the way, they were also entrapped. So there's two very valid reasons if you need one. If you need one, you don't even need those, because guess what we were there to do? To protest a stolen election. You know what's illegal? Stealing elections is illegal.
Yeah, you're right. And Daniel, I had one prisoner that I interviewed said that this whole thing was a setup. That this do you agree with that? I see 100%, you immediately nodding your head.
Well, like I said, I don't know if I said this when we were on air, but we worked on 4 different documentaries, one per year, about January 6th, which you can find if you go to stophate.com. But if you look at those, you'll be able to see what we're talking about when we talk about that setup. I mean, for one thing, Muriel Bowser and Nancy Pelosi turned down the National Guard being there. If the National Guard were there standing at the edge, nobody would have walked on that grass. It wouldn't have been an issue. And the police ended up killing 4 people that day. But even before they killed people, they started shooting into the crowd at 107, and everyone was just being peaceful. So it's definitely a setup. That's incitement. That's entrapment. And they shouldn't be allowed to get away with this.
Yes. Well, okay. Let's get to Stop Hate. You're involved now in the organization. Another one of the support organizations called Stop Hate. Okay, I'm going to bring up their website here, and let's kind of go through this. If you want to just kind of show me where to go on this and what you want to point out here. So people can go to this.
Stophate.com. If you click on the J6 on the top in the middle, that's how you get to this page. Or if you just type stophate.com/J6, okay, and you'll see the calls to action here on the left. Now, if you're on mobile, it'll just be in the middle, but you've got this. The main 3 I point people to is pray, donate, and send mail. So send mail goes to the Patriot Mail Project, which some of you are already familiar with. But we've also got the list of fundraisers there and the donate one. And then on the right-hand side, there's that little ad for the books below that. There's the letters from prison books. There's actually 2 of them already out and a 3rd one coming out. Now, if you go to the very top there, there's a little bit of a navigation there in kind of a bluish color. There's a bunch of different things about January 6th that you can look into, like different research and stuff like that. So people can look through that on your own time. Stuff about the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, Antifa, secret agents. There's a lot of people are like, were there secret agents there? I'm like, yeah, we know some of their names. We've got that all listed out. There's a bunch of articles. We got it in order of date. And that's not even exhaustive, but it's just way more than most people even realize.
So
thing about
Daniel, you know, what is the FBI's come out finally stating they had like 26 people involved there. Do you think the list is much longer than that?
Oh yeah, big time. Way bigger than that. That's probably bigger than that for the FBI, but the FBI isn't the only people involved when you're talking about secret agents. You can go ahead and click on that one right now just to get a little preview. The secret agents one.
Secret agents here?
Yeah. And you can scroll and just see. Just kind of scroll just to see how big this list is. And you'll see I've got FBI and different things.
My goodness. Oh, you got them. Got them all listed here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
And each one of those you can click on it and there's a whole big story about it. So this stuff is all the public stuff. That's not to mention the speculation. We got more if you want to go into speculation. Click on the actors page.
Go back to the...
Well, the same navigation is on both pages, yeah.
Okay, all right. So this website is jam-packed with information, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, and the documentaries up there is the second one. So if you go there, you'll see the top 4 are the ones that we worked on. So there's True Timeline, 1,000 Days of Terror, Bloody Hill, and Writing History. And then if you keep going, there's a bunch of other ones that others worked on, or some of them we had a little bit of help with. We helped a little bit with, but ones by people like Jake Lang or Dinesh D'Souza or Epoch Times, even some of the left-wing ones on there. If they were on my radar, I'd put them up there too.
Yeah, I think I've watched a couple of these. Is Jake Lang here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched his, and this January 6th, a True Timeline.
That's the most important one. That's why it's at the top, of course. Well, and it's the most recent one we did that came out last New Year's. But Tucker Carlson said it should be the most famous movie in the country, but it's not.
You've been on Tucker Carlson's show. You were on, right?
Yeah, I was on there for about a 5-minute segment right before my sentencing, and the judge was very unhappy about that.
Well, it's okay. All right, folks, that's where you need to go to get more information. StopHate.com. And excellent. Okay. Well, Daniel, we're about out of time here, but I want to. Again, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story and what's happening with you. Once again, I'm just very impressed with the network that has formed out here for our J6ers, and you're all in my thoughts and prayers, and certainly I think our organization, Convention of States, I can say we're very supportive of the Pardon Project and what's going to happen here too. So any closing thoughts, Daniel, as to what
I want pardons for all J6ers, no man left behind, and not even just J6ers. There's several other kinds of categories of political prisoners, like, for example, the FACE Act people, but that would be a whole different conversation to go into. But if people want to find me, they can. My name's Daniel Goodwin, and I'm on all the different social medias. I have a website. You can go danielgoodwin.com. And all the links are on there.
All right. Okay. Daniel, once again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me on. God
Thank
bless.
you. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to wrap it up, and we'll call it a wrap with that. But, folks, stay tuned, because something's going to happen and it should happen with these J6ers. And I hope none of them are left behind, as Daniel has said. So that'll be it for me. So Dale Parrish, host, COS Today. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. All right, Ken.
Right, young man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought, like I said, thought we better get that one in while we could.
Yep.
So he was. By the way, he was brought to us by Wendy Olson, one of our contributors that's been bringing all the J6 interviews and J6 content with us. She's very much an advocate of the J6 defendants and everything involved. So she's been very involved in it.
Yep. Yep.
I'm sure she's been glued to the TV today, also hoping to find information out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay, folks, well, we're going to move on here, and I'm going to bring on our illustrious set of contributors that have agreed to come on and give us their opinions and thoughts about today's activities. So
I jotted down a bunch of notes today about as I sat and watched all day long. I pretty much jotted down some things that, if you don't mind, I'll preface bringing them on with what I jotted down, and then I'm eager to hear what our contributors have to add.
Okay.
But my first thoughts are, I think I enjoyed the inauguration taking place in the Rotunda. The environment kind of gave me a historical feel to it, and along with the amazing acoustics and the overall cozy effect. And I do think security was a large part of the decision to not just the cold, to bring that inside. But I'd like to see future inaugurations happen in the Rotunda. And outside of the pardons, 15 minutes prior to leaving the office, watching Biden and Harris sit there in the front row to some no holds barred, portions of Trump's speech, I actually felt a larger coherent feel to the event compared to the last inauguration. Watching those in attendance as confirmed business started to take place. You could watch that happen with people who were there that were obviously eager to go forward with business. But I thought one of Trump's remarks stood out to me the most, and that was the one about America. In America, the impossible is what we do best. And I also saw a different Trump today. The results of the past 4 years. I think the speech was state of the how do I say this? UNESCO, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It was a little bit more state of the union type address, I thought, but which is what the people gave him a mandate for. So I was glad to hear the way he delivered that speech. But and there were no riots today, so thank God for that. But the last thing I have really written down was the Democrats, for the most part, I thought, did their part today in the transition. But how hard will the heels be dug in, once this day is over? That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
And of course, the last thing I wrote down was, Joe's welcome home to me was ingenuous at best. His pardons and actions in the last days of office speak volumes. And the last thing I wrote down was, the Fifth Amendment has now been given up, and we deserve to hear. Those were my notes. All
right. You're kind of setting the tone for everybody. Let's bring on our guests here. There's Diana Tullis. Got you muted there, Diana. I got you unmuted there. All right. John Ackerman.
Hello.
Brett Shirley from Missouri. And our own Gary Harbaugh. Thank you all for joining us this evening. This was kind of a last-minute decision to alter our production schedule this evening so that we could bring you on, and because I wanted to. Obviously, this is a significant day, and I wanted to hear your opinions, your thoughts about what transpired today. So let's go, ladies first. Diana, what do you have how did you see today happening?
Well, there were a lot of really good lines that came out of Trump's inaugural speech in the Rotunda. He's given 3, I think, by now, but that was the best one for sure. And I would say his speech was very, I think Reagan-esque. I think a lot of this, we're going to use that term a lot, probably. Not to mention that the Israeli prisoners are being released now, hopefully the last of them soon. That's very similar to what happened in 1980. But there were some really good lines, and we're not used to hearing our president talk like this. So one of them is, America will be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. And we're not used to hearing that kind of language. Another one was, I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. And when you pair that with him saying things like drill, baby, drill, that works for me. So no country is a great nation when they are not supplying themselves with plenty of their own energy, and we're prepared to do that and use what we have. And he made that very clear, and that is just extremely good news. And if I'm starting a business or expanding my business in manufacturing somewhere in this country, I'm feeling really good about that, and that is good for everybody.
Good. Gary, how about you?
Well, one of the things that you might hear from business is the idea of, well, you should under promise and over deliver, right? Donald Trump's totally the opposite. He made these promises over the top, bold, brash, courageous. America's going to be better than ever. And it's really exciting to see that. And he holds nothing back. And I think that it creates in all of us an expectation of really good things to happen. And that will help bring it about, is that we come into his presidency, not just with looking at him, but we can look at ourselves and say, we can expect things to be great under Donald Trump. And I think that's a really incredible form of leadership on his part to bring us along with him in the expectation of what's going to happen.
Okay. All right. Good. Brett?
Yeah, I think kind of piggyback on Diana's message. She said we're not used to hearing our president talk that way. Just like, well, the last 4 years, we're not even used to hearing our president talk. So it was.
Wait a minute, no.
Nice.
He reads the teleprompter very well. Don't you think?
I forgot. It's a stuttering issue. That's what it is. It's a stuttering issue. That's why you can't speak English. So,
all right.
Yeah. So, I thought it was definitely like Ken said, a State of the Union-esque type speech, for sure, laden with policy. A couple of things kind of struck me while I was listening to this, because there's speculation whether he was going to come out and just be kind of a conciliatory tone. And, I think that probably after getting shot in the head, that probably changes your point of view just a little bit. So I thought it was really, interesting. I thought it was good. Like to hear all the policy. A couple of things that occurred to me when he had started, probably about 5 minutes in, was the Apocalypse Now quote. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. I mean, he just kind of came in with the flamethrower, and I'm like, holy cow. And obviously Joe and Kamala and Dr. Jill, and Dougie, they weren't super thrilled with the statements, and I mean, he pretty well just laid the whole Biden administration bare. And then the other thing the other analogy that I thought of was, if you know the background of the rock group Fleetwood Mac, they all dated each other at some point in time. They all were married to each other at some point in time, and really their biggest album, Rumors, was basically Stevie Nicks singing a song with Lindsey Buckingham, their lead guitarist, next to her, basically singing and telling Lindsey what to go do with himself. And so that's kind of what this is what this reminded me of, and I thought it was definitely indicative of the mandate and his victory in November. So yeah, I'm here for the retribution.
John Ackerman.
Well, okay. I want to comment, first of all, that I'm so glad that Diana is here. It says there on her banner that she's the Ohio State Comms Coordinator. And The Ohio State University is playing for the national championship right about
They
now.
are.
That's
And
right.
my wife is watching it, and I'm going to join her as soon as you release me from this, Dale. And our vice president is a graduate of The Ohio State University. So, and I know he wanted to be at the game tonight, but he had this constitutional duty to take care of. Well, I'll tell you now, seriously, the first thought that came into my mind, as Trump took the oath of office, it's a breath of fresh air. It's not just turning a page, it's starting a whole new chapter or a whole new book, But the first thought that came into my mind was a sentence spoken by President Gerald Ford when he said, "Our long national nightmare is over." Yeah.
It is true. That is
And
true.
I think I think it's entirely possible that 100 years from now, none of us will be here, but when the history of this era is written, the Biden presidency may go down as an un-American blip in between the two Trump presidencies. I mean, the things that he did, the weaponization of justice, the Department of Justice, sicking the FBI on parents at school board meetings, putting the FBI out there on, J6, peaceful protesters on J6, sending the FBI after traditional Catholics. This is un-American stuff. And so the second thought that came to my mind after remembering Gerald Ford's statement, second thought was, we're returning to normal. This is the way things ought to be, with everybody in their lane and everybody doing their job and not going after your political enemies. And so I really feel like today's been the best day of the year so far, and it may be the best day of the year, period. There's a whole bunch of days yet to come.
Yeah.
But this is the rebirth of America. I really feel that down in my bones, the rebirth of America. And I was very glad to see the Democrat leaders doing their job and doing it well. And it was just, I can't think of the last time that I spent so many hours in front of a television set as I spent today. And maybe it's a nice break to get out of that room and sit here in front of my computer and talk to you five good people.
All right.
Yeah, I've got a comment from one of our viewers I'd like to go ahead and put in so we can get our viewers' comments in here.
All right.
Richard Loken says that President Trump talked about what we wanted to hear: border security, tariffs, hostage release, peace, and the end of DEI. So that was from
That's
our
true. That's
Richard
true.
Loken. Thank you, Richard.
Mhm.
Well, that's a good lead into my next question for
Amen.
our guests is, I was really hoping by the time we got to this tonight that we would know all about all the executive orders that were promised on day one, and I guess we got some information on them, but what have you all heard about the executive orders being issued? I heard there are actually going to be 201 executive orders issued today. And I've been looking for a list of those, but I haven't found it. I mean, I've heard talk about executive orders dealing with immigration, the border, the economy, DEI, and I've heard some stuff about the J6ers. But what have you all heard? What information do you have?
I'm looking at an article right now, 10 sweeping executive actions due Monday. And I'd like to add that I'm not a fan of executive orders, but if they're undoing what Biden's executive orders did, I can be okay with that. And I remember listening to one of my favorite political pundits about executive orders, and two things can be correct at the same time. I don't like them because I think they're an overreach. but I also they can accomplish some good things. So I've got declare a national emergency at the border, clarify the military's role in border security, end catch and release. He did talk about that today, and will begin remain in Mexico again. Designate criminal cartels as terrorists, suspend refugee settlement and asylum, and close the border to those without legal status.
Yeah.
End birthright citizenship, enhance vetting, protect American citizens against invasion, restore the death penalty, directs the Attorney General to seek capital punishment for the murder of law enforcement officers and capital crimes committed by illegals. So it is not specific to the J6. I don't see that much in here yet, but there is some rumor that he is going to do some sweeping. I don't know. Maybe I'll let somebody else maybe cover that, the J6 prisoners, and see what you think might happen there. But that's a lot. And
Yeah.
Dale, I've got another viewer who's added one. He says he's still signing, and this is one he posted up. David Nally says there's a freeze on regulations and government hiring.
I had not read that one.
Some of these obviously is going to take some time to develop. But I'm sorry, Gary, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was a couple of things. One, I was going to mention a thing that Dave Nally did about Trump issued a freeze so that no agency is to issue any kind of regulations until the new people are in place, the people he has appointed, is my understanding. The other thing, I'd like to go back and just talk about the overall of the day, kind of in keeping with what John Ackerman said, but it's like, to me, we've moved from darkness to light. We have been under this, for the last really years of a propaganda war by the deep state that have been telling us, darkness is coming, if Trump gets in or whatever. And really the exact opposite is true. We have been living under a dark, oppressive regime, suppressing free speech, suppressing freedom in many ways. And we are turning, as was mentioned, turning the page to enter the light, where we're back under the concept of a constitutional limited government, where we magnify freedom rather than magnifying government. And that's just an awesome thing. I think it's going to take days, probably weeks, for us to find out more about all these executive orders that are mostly undoing bad things from previous administrations. But yeah, this is a great day, and I can't wait to hear more about it as the days go on.
Yeah, I agree. I know, Brett, you had a particular executive order that you were interested in, right? With birthright?
Yeah, the birthright citizenship. And I'm like Diana and Gary. I'm not a very, very big fan of executive orders. The intent of an executive order is it's supposed to be an administrative action that allows the executive branch to execute laws that have been passed by Congress. And a lot of this around immigration, these are laws that have been passed by Congress, and they were just completely ignored by the Biden administration. But the birthright citizenship, they cite the 14th Amendment, and I wanted to read this in Section 1. The proponents of open borders will say, well, Section 1 of the 14th Amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States and of the state in which wherein they reside. Like, okay, well, it does say that, but there's another phrase in the middle there. The way that it reads is all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. That and the subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a key phrase there. It doesn't mean that just because somebody is born in the United States are automatically a citizen. And a good example of that is if you had like an ambassador, say an ambassador from Belgium, who was over here in the United States, and he and his wife were having a baby, and they went to a DC area hospital or a hospital in Maryland or something like that, and had their child. That child is not a U.S. citizen, because because their parents are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. That baby is still a citizen of the country of Belgium. They're a citizen of their home country.
So the parents have got to be citizens of the United States in order for the child to be automatically a citizen, right? That's what we're saying.
Correct. Absolutely. They have to be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States.
See, I've
and
never
an
understood
ambassador
that
from
either.
another country is not.
That's an interesting point. That's very good. That's a very interesting point. Good.
Yeah.
John, did you have
and
any?
I'd like to build on Brett's point.
Out of time here, huh? I'm sorry, John. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'd like to build on what Brett just. I'd like to build on what Brett just said.
Okay.
If indeed that does come out as an executive order, you can count on a lawsuit being filed to stop it. And then the courts can decide, and they usually, it usually goes up to the Supreme Court, and they usually decide the right way. Not always, but usually, at least in recent years. And the other thing is with the Republicans controlling both the House and the Senate, Congress can pass a law defining what that means in the 14th Amendment and operationalizing it. And so it can become either, the court can affirm it, and or it can become a matter of a national statute. And so I wanted to build that. I wanted to build on what Brett said, because I fully expect there to be a lawsuit filed against that. And the other thing that just really grows out of this whole thing and overshadows it all is what the president said about a revolution of common sense. And, that's what Convention of States stands for. We are a common sense organization, and we just want to return the federal government to its constitutional limits, and we want common sense to prevail. And I think we've got a great ally in the White House now for Convention of States and for our mission.
I think that's a good wrap, John. What a way to close out this segment. So let's close it out. Guys, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And thanks again for your opinions. And stay tuned. There's obviously more to come. So thank you very much. Well, that was good, Ken. That was good. I think that was a timely segment for us to have, really.
I want to go ahead and stick up one more comment. It's really, there was
Okay.
so many points today that were, or things that happened today that were really good. But David Nally again brought up something. I thought it was very well handled, professionally handled. But I'll put up his comment. Carrie Underwood rocked "God Bless America" today, and
I did hear that, and that did sound very good. That did
and everybody was sitting around wondering what the heck happened. And the reason I bring that up, Dale, is because many times on this program we've run into those little technical glitches, and we can see now that even a presidential inauguration, can have a technical glitch, and the music didn't come on, and she sat there, and finally she just said, "You know what? Nothing wrong with acapella," and she belted it out.
Really? Oh, really? I thought I heard some. Oh well. Okay.
And it was music. It came on eventually, but she was waiting for the music to begin, and it never started. It was some kind of glitch. So feel good when that, feel good that it happens now and again.
Good deal. Okay. Let's go ahead and close out here, Ken. Just want to mention to everyone that coming up next will be our roundtable next Monday evening, hosted by John Ackerman. And we're going to be talking about the Trump 10-point plan to dismantle the administrative state. So maybe some of these executive orders that he's generating right now have an impact on this topic. But I think this is going to be an interesting topic for us to talk about. And that'll be on our roundtable next Monday evening. Okay. Now the next broadcast, or the next live stream like we're doing tonight, will be, well, that's not the right one, is it? The next one will be February 3rd, as a matter of fact, folks. And we'll have the Minnesota Legislature interview definitely on for that one. And I think we may have Debbie Stewart. Debbie's been ill, but hopefully she'll be back with us by February 3rd, and we'll have her talking about the talking more about the 10-point education plan. So that's what we got planned for February 3rd. My mistake that I didn't get this that banner corrected. So Ken, I think I do want to mention before I forget here that we will, if you have any comments or questions after our broadcast this evening, feel free to drop us an email to raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. That's raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. So, Ken, I think we've had a good program tonight. I don't know. Does anyone know what the score of the Ohio State Notre Dame game is right now? Any idea?
Keeping a tab on. Can always find that out by just doing a quick search. But yeah, it's the championship game is on, and I understand why people want to check that out tonight. Let's see, championship scores. I don't know.
All right.
I could ask, but we won't get that. We won't get into that.
Okay. Well, listen, I want to close out this evening with another segment from John Ackerman on COS basics. And then got a little bit of a piece from our Maringo Mike to ask everyone to join Convention of States. So once those play, then we'll automatically go ahead and close out our broadcast for this evening. So
here's your update, Dale. Here's your update. 0-0 in the first. So there's no score yet.
No score yet, huh? Okay. Well, unfortunately, I don't have access to the game, so I just track the score.
What, are you in a blacked out area because you're close to Notre Dame, or what?
No, I'm just too cheap to take on another
subscription.
Yeah, subscription. That's right. Okay, so let's bring on John Ackerman, and once again, everyone have a good evening, and I want to thank our guests again for coming on tonight, and stay tuned. It is a new day in America, and I certainly feel like it's a new day, and I think we got a lot of things going to be happening.
Agreed.
So, thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Good night.
Here we go.
John Ackerman for Convention of States, Indiana, with COS Basics. Today I'm using another point from attorney Rita M. Peters. Want to give her credit because it's due to her. She writes that our Constitution is not the illegitimate result of a so-called runaway convention. Okay? That's one of the lies that the opposition tries to propagate. The argument that our Constitution is the result of a runaway convention that was called by the Confederation Congress to revise the Articles of Confederation is a fabrication that is easily debunked by an examination of the historical documents. That is, the language and date of the Virginia call for the convention and the instructions given to the Virginia delegates, as well as the instructions given by the other states to their delegates. It's a matter of fact that the Confederation Congress did not call the 1787 Constitutional Convention. It made a recommendation, but that's all it did. It made a mere recommendation. The Congress had no authority to call a convention under the Articles of Confederation, but the states did retain this authority as an aspect of their sovereignty. And so I repeat the point made by attorney Rita M. Peters, that our Constitution is not the illegitimate result of a runaway convention.
Marengo Mike here with a reminder that our work to raise the bar on making our federal government accountable to the people is only halfway done. We need to grow our grassroots army of citizens every day to fulfill the vision of our forefathers and keep our land free and prosperous. So, if you have never signed the petition to show your support, use that QR code and do that now. While you're there, why not kick it up a notch and volunteer for many of the positions available where your talents can make a difference as we march into a new year. Thank you, and God bless.